Danish Girl. Right, I'm getting back onto regular reviews. This is good stuff. So just saw The Danish Girl very recently. It's a film I've been anticipating quite a while. It was one of my most anticipated early 2016 films. I kind of separate them. So like the earlier ones, it's what I've been looking forward to the most. Partly because I think Eddie Redmayne is a fantastic actor, and so I was looking forward to seeing him in another quite challenging role, but I also, the subject area is something that I was very drawn to. If anybody doesn't know what The Danish Girl is about, it is predominantly about the transitioning of the first ever trans woman. I don't know if she was like the first ever, I'm sure there were people before her, but she was sort of the first one that came forward about the fact that she wanted to be a woman and did something about it. Not that she wanted to be a woman, that she believed she was a woman and that she wanted to do something about it, and so she's the first person to fully transition, is basically who this girl Lily was. So you kind of, that's what the film was about. It's about her life, her understanding of herself, people telling her that she's insane, when in fact we would now know she's not insane, she's just a woman predominantly, and it's kind of the trials and the obstacles she has to go through to get where she wants to be, but also the effect it has on her wife, because obviously before she realised that she was a woman and started transitioning, though actually, that side note, I kind of would argue that she always knew, even from the beginning of the film, without it being really labelled, spoke about thing, she did sort of describe always being this Lily. She separates her male self and her female self into separate things and doesn't see them as the same people. I think it was a coping thing, and so she said that Lily was always prominent, she just got released at a later stage kind of thing. She didn't really know how to term and label these things. But it's her wife's journey I also found quite interesting, because I keep saying her wife, but it wasn't Lily's wife, because Lily saw it as his, but I don't know what the pronouncing thing. And basically, I apologise now for all if I'm not pronouncing things correctly. But her wife, before she realised she was a woman, that woman, her name was Gerda. So Gerda's journey is also as interesting to me as Lily's, because you do feel really, really sorry for Gerda the whole way through this film. Obviously, you feel worse for Lily, and you want Lily to be able to transition properly, and coming from an age where transitioning is less of a thing, there's more people accepting to it, and you certainly wouldn't be locked up for it as a schizophrenic. So times have moved on, is the point I'm saying. So you do feel really sorry for Lily, and you really feel for her and her journey and her trying to understand and discover herself, and you do understand why she does some of the things she does, but it's still really hard on her wife Gerda, because I feel like Gerda's having to basically come to terms with something that hasn't really been known before, and she's losing her husband through the transition. And I know it shouldn't be focused on that, it should be Lily and helping Lily become who she wants to be, because I think at one point throughout the film Lily explains she's feeling so bad that she wants to kill herself, but she's scared to do it because she doesn't want to kill Lily, kind of thing. So obviously her journey is a lot worse, but then I also think you've got to think of Gerda and the fact that Gerda is basically losing her husband in a time that she doesn't fully understand, and she's really, really trying to be accepting. And basically I think Gerda was a wonderful woman from what I can tell from this film. She was totally accepting the whole way through, and she had a few blips where she was getting angry and frustrated, but I think that can be expected. But ultimately she was really, really supported Lily and was really there for her, and I really, really actually liked both her and Lily's relationship, as well as her and Lily's previous self's relationship, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's kind of the plot of the film and the subject matter, and I just found that was really interesting. I was really drawn to that just in itself. I thought that was a really interesting story. But the way it was made was also brilliant, as to be expected. Both Eddie Redmayne and I've forgotten her name. I'll put it in here, but the woman that played Gerda. So both Eddie Redmayne and the woman that played Gerda were fantastic. Phenomenal. I can understand why they both were nominated for a Golden Globe for it. They were absolutely brilliant in the roles they did. I also thought the film was made beautifully. I loved the sort of... it's hard to explain. The way it was shot, there was something about the tones and the colours of the images being produced that I thought was really beautiful. I suppose I had a reference to the fact they were both artists, and so it kind of flowed the whole way through, but it was just a really beautifully made film. I found it was really lovingly shot, and I really enjoyed watching it just from a visual element, even if there was times where I think parts I glossed over or I got lost in a thought that appeared because of the subject matter. So it was a film that definitely made you think. And even at that point, I was still just enjoying watching the sort of colours on the screen. That's making me sound really insane, but yeah, just if anyone's seen it, I'm assuming you'll know what I mean. It's just a really beautifully filmed film. It just looks so lovely made, and the scenery is lovely around, especially actually when they're in Paris and in France. I did really love the scenery and the shots then, but the whole thing was just really beautiful. The acting quality was really good. I think it was handled really sensitively, which I enjoyed. I thought Eddie Redmayne was a phenomenal actor. He managed to do feminine in a way that you believed he was actually a woman, and not that he was being a man being a woman, if that makes sense. I was very nervous about the portrayal that Lily was going to have. I knew, part of me always knew that it was going to be done well, but there's always a worry that it was going to look like a man playing a woman, if that makes sense. So it could have got camp or a bit more man in drag than a woman who was born in the wrong body kind of situation going on. But it wasn't. It was handled beautifully, and I think Eddie Redmayne did a very good job of being very sort of feminine in his portrayal and aesthetic. The voice development and change I thought was brilliant. I basically think he did a phenomenal job, and it was very respectfully done. And so the worries I had about the fact that it was going to be a man playing a trans woman kind of went. Not saying that I was on the side of the argument that it should have been a trans person, because I don't think that is applicable, because an actor is an actor and an actress is an actress kind of thing. So it'd be like saying trans people can only play trans people and cis people can only play cis people. I don't agree with that. I think trans people can play cis people and cis people can play trans people, and it's kind of just, I don't think you should be picked because of that part of your gender. But I won't get into that right now, but that's just, I'm saying just a sign that that's not what I meant by that, but I was just slightly worried. I think my worries would calm basically the minute the film started. He was phenomenal in the role. It definitely made you think just about, I think gender as a whole, really. I even noticed a change in myself once I left. I was definitely holding myself in a more feminine way and walking in a more feminine way, and throughout the film I sort of slowly found myself morphing into some sort of stereotypical sit and stance and things that I possibly wouldn't normally adopt is what I was looking for. So I guess it kind of just made me think about my own gender and how we define genders, and it was just a very interesting film. It was definitely thought-provoking, not like in a personal sense, and just in the sense in itself about transitioning and transgender. I don't think there's a lot out there for trans as being covered, or if it is, it's so fixated on the physical transition and not much else. I don't really know many sort of popular films or TV shows or anything that really emphasises transgender as a thing. I'm not actually saying it should be a fictional point of a character, but I don't think there's a lot of representation out there, not just for the people that are being misrepresented because they don't see a lot of people they can look up to themselves being trans, but I just mean as a subject area. It's not something that's really understood or discussed, and I think media is probably a better way to do it than trying to give sort of people loads of informative chunks, which I think is why this film was really interesting to watch, because it was sort of a education and entertainment kind of way, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I think it's just a film that you should see just for that reason alone, really. But it is also a phenomenal film. The plot is fantastic, it's well written, and it's well acted and produced and directed and everything like that. So I definitely think this film is worth watching, is basically what I'm trying to say. I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. There were moments I found the film was slightly slow or dragging in places. I think that's partly because I didn't actually like Lily that much as a person. I definitely had a lot of sympathy for her and can understand why she did some of the things she did, because of how misunderstood she was, both in understanding herself and others understanding her. But she still wasn't a pleasant person, in my opinion. I did really, really like her wife. I did really like Gerda, so that kind of balanced it out. But on a whole, I do think it was a really enjoyable film, and I would definitely recommend it. So, if anyone else has seen The Danish Girl and would like to leave their comments about what they thought about the film below, please leave your messages. I would love to read them. Other than that, I hope everyone is well, and I shall see you all soon. Bye!